What's up, YouTube? It's me, Joe Schmmo. I'm back, and I know it's a little different because I haven't done a Joe's Corner in a while, but it's a chill session this time around. I am joined by TheThugSeme. I got a different guest from usual. Say hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Tell everyone about yourself. Tell them what your channel's about. We'll let you get out there.
As of late, I changed the content on my channel. I used to do Overwatch gaming videos, but now I kind of just have been posting a lot of JoJo-related content. Mostly JoJo Eyes of Heaven content and the occasional shitpost.
So I am here today to bring her back to the world of anime, the newer stuff, some of the classics. I'm here to recommend some stuff and recommend stuff along the way to you guys. At the end, she's going to try and convince me to go watch JoJo's.
I'm not sure how well I'll do. I'm still not even through part 3 yet.
I believe in you. It's okay. I believe in you. So, let me start off with some anime news and some stuff that's just been happening. So, Demon Slayer is confirmed for a movie and a second arc, or season, as some would say, which is the Infinite Train arc. And for you, ma'am, who hasn't seen Demon Slayer but have heard of it, it's basically about a young man. He goes off to sell some wood and stuff, leaves his family behind, comes back to find them murdered by demons. And the only survivor is his sister, who turns into a demon. And usually demons kill humans, but his sister's different. She doesn't want to kill him. She cries, and you see the emotional struggle in her face, and then bam! You know, a bunch of stuff happens, he turns into a demon slayer. That's a pretty general synopsis. There's a lot more that happens, but for the sake of, keeping this going along, that's a good little bit. For Snafu, Season 3 is about to start, and that is my teen romance comedy. As you guys know, loyal followers, I am a huge fan of this series. It's not your average rom-com or whatever. It's a very serious tone, and the character is very relatable, the main character, to, just about everyone who hates everyone. He's a very relatable character. And in this one, they say he's finally going to show his feelings towards a girl, but we're going to figure out who it is. We all root for someone, and we all root for the other, but who knows? We'll see where it comes along. And the major news that everyone's looking forward to, besides the movie, Don Machi Season 3 was confirmed. And at the end of Season 2, they introduced a new character. Very last second, she popped out of a wall, and it was very weird, very awkward for everyone. And she looks like a monster. So, we'll see where that goes. Alright, we're moving on from the news, as everyone's trying to ingest everything that just happened. So, Miss Seme, share to the class, or the podcast, or whoever's watching, what do you look for in anime?
I don't really look for a specific genre. I try to stay clear of the more romance-themed ones. Like, if it's funny and the episodes are kind of bonkers, then I'll watch it, but I've had my share where I had to stop watching because it was kind of boring, and I couldn't really get invested in the characters or the romantic bond between them. So I don't really I'm not picky, but that's the kind that I would not really watch if recommended.
So I got some stuff for you. It's really, I think I got 7. I wrote down one more at the last second that you might like. So have you ever heard of the Fate series?
Yes, I think so. I think I heard one of my friends showed me one of the openings, and it was amazing. It was fire. It was beautiful, but that's all I really know of it.
So, Fate is a weird monster to tackle, but it's a fun journey to go on. So, let me start with the synopsis of it, because it's probably the only thing that will make sense in its timeline, because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has about maybe 30 different things going on in the Fate timeline, but the animes are straightforward, so it's nice. So basically, the summary of Fate, it follows these events called the Holy Grail Wars, which involve masters, which are generally, accomplished, like magicians or magi, And then they summon servants who are heroic spirits, which can be anyone and anything in the future, in the past, that could be considered a heroic spirit. They could be evil even, but they're still a heroic spirit. So King Arthur is an example. The King Gilgamesh from, Gilgamesh, the epic tale of Gilgamesh. You got Mordred. You have the Last Kiyohime, which is a very sad folk tale. You have Thomas Edison's one, Billy the Kid. They tackle all different historical figures and put them into a battle. So generally, a Grail War consists of 7. There's some different Grail Wars that have been recorded on different, universes or timelines that split off in multiverse theory, so on and so forth. But the general synopsis is, let's go start with the one I was going to recommend to you to begin with, which is Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, which is a rehash of the very first one that came out. So basically, this one follows Shiro Emiya. This young dimwit lad finds himself an unwilling participant in a deadly competition where 7 mages summon heroic spirits as servants to serve to duel each other and till the death, because you got to have some death everywhere, right? So they go and compete for the chance to make a wish. The Holy Grail will make any wish come true. It goes deeper into it, but you got to have an idea on how you would make that wish. So it follows him, and then there's other skillful mage called Rin Tosaka. She summons an archer, and to which this archer really despised Shiro for some reason, which you find out later on. And our main character, Shiro, summons Saber, who is King Arthur. So it follows them in their wacky tales of death and destruction and guts and gore everywhere. But it also has a very serious undertone as well of, just the will to survive and so on and so forth. So how does that sound?
Well, that sounds good. I like it whenever, like I said, comedy, and I also like when there's serious undertones. And it sounds like it wouldn't be boring, so that sounds good. Also like how they use different historical figures. I like it when shows do that.
Yes, it brings in a lot of historical figures. And even so, there's a phone game called Fate Grand Order. And in the Grand Orders, where they bring out all these historical people and making them servants and so on and so forth, they also bring fairy tales into play. So, not the Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland's been referenced a couple times.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So there's different things. Like Kiyohime is based off a tale, but she's a servant in the game and is referenced in one of the newer animes for the series coming out. So it's not that big to tackle. If you want, I can give you the list of the follow if you want chronological order. Like timeline-wise, I can give you a good order. We can do that off-screen.
That would be good. Timeline order would probably be best.
Just so you know, every first episode for every Fate that ever has come out is like an hour long for the first episode. Just so you know. Because a lot of people go in thinking it's just a 30-minute. No, they throw you down. They say you got to sit and watch. Alrighty.
We'll do this on a weekend. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Do it on a weekend. Because they all have at least 24 to 26 episodes per segment.
It's only the first episode, right?
Yeah, it's only the first episode. Only first episode. Alright. So Fate is done. We can mark this off our list. Next up is... have you ever heard of Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
No, but the title is already interesting.
So it's not a rom-com or anything. It's action. There's some little bits of romance here and there, but he's a main character, so he's ditz, and he falls for someone who doesn't know what love is. It's great. So it follows our main character, Bel Crannel. He's a young man. He has white hair, and you find out that he joined a familia, which is what they call these gods and goddesses. So basically, the gods of heaven come down. I'm talking about Greek gods, Japanese lords and gods, American legend gods, anything you can think of that would have meaning, and they told stories about. So like Zeus, Hermes, Hestia, Medusa, stuff like that, Apollo, Ishtar, all those families. Yeah, those gods and goddesses actually came to Earth and started these adventurer girls, which they call the familias. So they adopt people and bring them in, and they make them part of their family, and they get different benefits for each family. And, you know, like, Hermes is... I forget what his is. Ishtar would be the best example to explain. Ishtar is about lust and all that stuff, so that family focuses around prostitution and stuff, is an example.
Oh, hell yeah. Sorry. Okay, wait, sorry.
No, you're fine. No, it's way past 30 seconds. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, so that's just a good example of that. So it follows him in his journey with his small familia of just him. He's just the first one this his goddess Hestia has adopted. So it follows his journey of trying to crawl up, and he makes friends along the way that start traveling with him through the dungeon and so on and so forth. And then he gets to a point where he falls in love with the big girl on top. She is like what people reference to as the ideal adventurer, and it just goes on from that. And, you know, do you like? It's kind of like a video game, but it's not. Doesn't. If you get what I'm trying to get at.
RPG kind of.
Yeah, kind of. It has the same aspects of that, but it's not a game. It's real life.
Yeah.
So
I like things like that.
So let's see here. Was there any other major thing I can do without spoiling anything? Because we're really going anymore, it might spoil for you and the rest of the people. So we're gonna leave it on that. I'll leave a nice picture here. Bam, done. There you go. There's a picture of what it looks like. Go check it out. It's getting the 3rd season. I mentioned before. Don Machi is a short way to say it. So yeah, there you go. All right. How much do you love food?
I very much so love food, but I'm also very picky, if that's what you mean.
What about food-related animes?
I'll watch them. Is it the... Can I ask, is it... I don't know the title of it, but is it the one where there's this cook who legit cooks so well that he forced people to orgasm?
Alright, there's more to it than that, but yes, there's more to it than that. It's just how they express how good the food is. It's not what really happens, even though it looks like it sometimes. And there's a point where it makes people physically disrobe clothes, but that's not the premise here.
Steak's so good, I'm gonna nut! Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, pretty much. No, that is the first episode. I kid you not. So let me give a synopsis here, basically. Where's a good starting point for this? You follow a teenager named Soma Yukihira. He aspires to become a full-time chef at his family's restaurant, and he's trying to surpass his dad's culinary skills. But his father, Joriichiro, gets a new job, and he has to travel the world, so he has to close the shop. So what does any good father do? Enroll him into a culinary institute, the world's most elite culinary institute, where people from around the world go there and beg for their guidance. And in this, they engage in these food competitions called shokugekis. Shokugekis are basically you put something on the line that is worth equal amount. It's kind of like, you ever seen Full Metal Alchemist?
Yes. I mean, Brotherhood, but...
Well, I mean, that's, like, you know the law of equivalent exchange?
Yeah.
That's the kind of theory. So, like, they have these top 10 spots that you get immense wealth and power if you're in these top 10 spots on the student council, essentially. They're the 10th seat, 10th through all the way to the first seat. And people go to these people and they want, like, their fame and knowledge to help get their product along, so on and so forth. But the whole premise is it follows this kid who is he's like not of the hooty-tooty high society food thing. So you got people making French cuisine and these fancy dishes. He's like, look at this rice bowl I made right here, kind of thing. And it, like, blows people away and how he...
jelly donut.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. It follows that kind of aspect, and it's really funny. There's like small bit of romance, if you want to call it that, in it, but it's actiony and comedy. And I have up to the current volume in America, which is 31. They're about to have the 4th season for the anime, and I think that's about to come out this upcoming season. It's really worth it. If you want something different, but it'll keep you enthralled, you want Food Wars.
I shall watch Food Wars, and I shall watch people nut over the Amazing Great Ball.
Yeah, you got that right. Alright. How well versed are you in classic anime?
Elaborate.
Like the 90s.
Not well, I'll be quite honest.
Have you watched anything from the 90s?
I mean, I've watched, if you'd even want to consider, I think Pokemon came out in 1998 or 99.
That's the 90s. That's fine, that's fine.
I wouldn't count it because I'd watched it as a kid, so I wouldn't count it, but if you would, then there's that, but that's about it.
So, have you ever heard of Cowboy Bebop?
Yes, I actually have, and I've heard good things about it.
It is one of the best animes I have ever watched in my life. I am not kidding with that. It's honestly, with the themes that it has going on, the voice acting that is going on, either in Japanese or English, the English dub is fantastic. The premise that it goes and follows, it just... Long story short, it's critically acclaimed, and for good reasons. So let me give you the synopsis of it. In the distant future of 2071, which, as I keep reading this, it seems more and more likely thanks to our Lord and Savior Elon Musk, who keeps, the weeb in charge of pushing towards space travel. In the year 2071, roughly 50 years after the accident with a hyperspace gateway that made Earth the most uninhabitable that has made Earth almost uninhabitable. Humanity has colonized on most of the rocky planets and the moons of the solar system. Amid the rising crime rate, the Intergalactic System Police, blah 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 blah, the ISSP, has set up a legalized contract system, in which registered bounty hunters, also known as cowboys, chase criminals and bring them in alive in return for a reward. And if you bring them back dead, you get like 1/10 of the award. It doesn't cover this, but it happens a couple times to these guys. Or you don't even get anything, depending on how serious or how little it is. So let's see here. The series protagonists, bounty hunters, are working from the spaceship Bebop. So Cowboy Bebop. That's the name.
Yeah.
The original crew is Spike Spiegel, which, he's a man. He's a man's man. An exiled former hitman of the criminal Red Dragon Syndicate, which comes part in the later half of the show, and his partner Jet Black, who's a former ISSP officer. They're later joined by Faye Valentine, a con artist, and Edward Wong, an eccentric girl skilled in hacking. And then our beautiful Pembroke Welsh corgi named Ein, the little mascot that could. With his human-like intelligence. It's because he was genetically engineered into creation, oddly enough. And there's a whole episode on that. So basically, you follow these guys over disastrous mishaps, with leaving them broke, while in gunfights, hand-to-hand combat, space fights. It's so good. And it basically follows Spike and his deadly rival Vicious, I think is how it's pronounced. And it's the backstory, the undertone backstory is about him and the Red Syndicate, the Red Dragon Syndicate. It's really good because it's like a Western pulp fiction. Like, I think that's the best way to describe it in some terms. Have you ever seen Pulp Fiction?
I'm about to be slapped in the face for this. No.
That's fine.
I always get the chance to watch it. I always get pulled away by something.
No, you're fine. I think another way to describe it would be a space opera, guess meets noir, with a mix of comedy and cyberpunk. But if you really want to just simplify it, it's a space western.
Yeah, I figured space western with the Cowboy Bebop and them traveling in a spaceship.
I would recommend this before you do anything else to watch this one first. Because it's like a classic staple. I consider it one of the gateway like animes. They bring people in. It's kind of like how Brotherhood is to some people, or to a lot of people.
I think my gateway was Soul Eater. I think that's what kind of initially got me into anime.
That's another good one. You've already watched it, so I can just scratch that off that list. Let's see here. All right, you like blood, guts, and gore, and fighting stuff,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
You ever heard of Overlord?
Overlord?
Yes.
Sorry, your voice did a little bleep, but yes, I've not heard of it, but I'm intrigued.
It's made by Studio Madhouse. Have you ever seen Dead Man Wonderland?
No.
Okay, well...
I'm sorry, I'm very uncultured.
No, you're fine, That's why I'm here. I'm introducing you. So basically...
I've seen very few, but yeah.
A good one. High School of the Dead. I think they did High School of the Dead animation. You saw that, right?
You know I saw High School of the Dead. High School of the Dead was amazing.
Yes, exactly. They did the animation for that. So, transfer this into this plot I'm about to tell you, okay? In the distant, very distant future where we won't be alive, unfortunately, in the year of 2126, a massive multiplayer online role-playing game, or a DMMORPG, called Yggdrasil was released. It stands out amongst the most due to its unusually high ability for players to interact with the game. After an intense 12-year run for the game's servers, it's about to shut down. Within the game exists a guild called Ein's Own Goln. It consists of 41 members and are credited as one of the strongest guilds in the game. But sadly, now only 4 members remain. The other 37 have quit the game. But of those 4, only one, an elder lynch named Momonga, that's how you say it, continues to play as the guild leader and continue to maintain the headquarters. Keep it all nice and fancy, clean it up, the whole 9 yards. The Great Headquarters, which is the Great Tomb of Nazarick, that's what it's named. And minutes before it shuts down, he invites the remaining guild members, but only one appears right before it shuts down, sadly. They sat there a while and talked, and then he left. While saddened by this, he accepts the reality that his friends he's made in those 12 years have their own lives. Both lives there and, the real ones. And to take care... they got to take care of them, and he decides to stay logged in until, the server shuts down. Well, the time arrives. However, he finds that he's stuck in the game. He has yet to vanish. Instead, Yggdrasil becomes reality with him, and all the NPCs around him were brought to life. And whatever, backstory and, theme and their, personality that was programmed, written text, became their actual personality. So you got a Lalita vampire, you got a ice warrior who is, super hardcore, shogunate. You have 2 twins that are running around, reverse traps. You got, a whole different cast all of a sudden joining him. So, basically, all of them were brought to life, and he's realized he's been trapped in his avatar. So, he tries all the normal player functions, such as general message or even log out, and nothing works. So, he has to learn how to cope in this new world while carrying on the name of Ein's Own Gold and throwing the world into chaos.
Well, I like it. Kind of him being stuck in the game reminds me of Sword Art Online, but it doesn't sound like it sucks like Sword Art Online.
You're not wrong. This came out after Sword Art, I think. But I mean, the isekai genre of video games and stuff has been around for a while. I mean, Sword Art didn't do it first. Dot Hack was the real first one that did it.
Wait, Dot Hack. I think I've seen that. I think there's are there several series of the...
Yeah, there's multiple different Dot Hacks.
Okay, I think I've seen part of it. Because I remember it being on Netflix once, and that's when I was just getting into anime, so I watched it. I don't think there were that many episodes, though, and I wasn't able to find the others because I was a dumb child.
You didn't have the tools necessary in front of you.
No.
So that's what I really recommend, since it's up your alley of blood, guts, and horror and stuff like that. Let's see here. Have you ever heard of Blood Blockade Battlefront?
Yes. I remember my friend showed me the ending for that, and I thought the ending was really catchy and cute.
Was it them?
Despite the title.
Was it them dancing on a stage?
Yeah, it's
Bittersweet Dreams or something like that. I remember.
I think it was like Bitter Song, Sweet Step, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Something of that nature.
That's another one full of blood, guts, and all this other great action stuff. The plot is very simple. Blood Blockade Battlefront basically just centers itself around this crime-fighting organization called Libra, and it follows their battles in Hell Salem's Lot, which is basically what New York City used to be, but then all of a sudden this portal opened up and all these creatures and stuff started coming out, and it was bloody because they started killing people, and that's a whole backstory episode itself, and it's really realistic. So it basically follows them because, they're there to fight the paranormal beings and crime syndicates and stuff like that, but it's known as Hellsom's Lot because it's like a melting pot between the everyday mundane life, magic, and monsters. And it's basically up to Libra to clean up the streets and prevent the horrors from destroying the city. Even though, in almost every episode, buildings get destroyed left and right like it's nothing. It's kind of like Dragon Ball, but, it's kind of a slapstick a little bit here and there, but it has a serious undertone, and it's really good. And basically, it's like adventure, sci-fi, and I guess it might be under urban fantasy. Yeah, I would say urban fantasy, which is basically modern day mixed with fantasy.
Yeah, I'm writing a story that's urban day fantasy.
Ooh.
But I will discuss that later.
So I'm on to my final recommendation. How much do you like war? In sense of anime and stuff like that, not real life.
Okay, I like war. As long as it's simple, because I have a short attention span and a small brain.
Well, there's a lot of shooting, a lot of magic, and a lot of everything. But it's simple.
Oh, your voice cut out?
I said there's a lot of shooting, a lot of magic, and some other stuff.
Well, sounds dope. Continue.
Yeah, ever heard of the Saga of Tanya the Evil?
No, I have not.
Yojo Senkai is a short one. It's basically it literally means the military chronicles of a little girl. As fucking Japanese as that is. So the plot is one of the.
I always get concerned when little girls are involved.
It's gonna take a weird twist for you. Let me go through it with you. You know about World War I and all that stuff, like trench warfare and.
Yeah.
Okay. So this plot, it follows an unnamed atheist Japanese salaryman. In the moment of being murdered by a disgruntled subordinate who he had fired due to his poor performance at work, he is confronted by an entity that could stop time, which he refers to himself as Being X, or God, who condemns the man for not having faith. He is sentenced to be reborn into a world that is similar to World War I Europe, mixed with the early aspects of World War II and magic. In an empire torn apart by countless wars with all nearby countries. The salaryman is reborn as an orphan girl named Tanya Degrachov. According to BNX... Go ahead.
Does he have, when he's reborn as the girl, does he have memories of his past life, or is it...
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Yes, he does. So that plays a little bit here and there when he starts bringing up these strategies and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh my God, this 10-year-old's a prodigy!" Now it's actually like a 4-year-old man that's studied history. But so basically, according to BNX, if Tanya, the unnamed salaryman, either does not die a natural death or refuses to have faith in him, Her soul will leave the cycle of reincarnation and will be sent to hell for the countless sins that Tanya has committed in her previous life. In the search for an escape...
Fun.
Yes. In the search for an escape, Tanya decides to enter into the Empire's Magus Division and fight in the war, hoping to reach the high enough rank as fast as possible to remain far from the battlefield. Seems logical, right?
Very logical.
And in this way, avoid risk of being killed. Even if she's now forced to speak with a young girl's lisp. Am I reading that right? Yeah, forced with a young girl's lisp. Tanya... Yeah, I don't remember ever hearing a lisp, personally, because I went and saw all 13 episodes and the movie, but it's whatever. Tanya soon turns into a ruthless soldier who prioritizes efficiency and her own career over everything else, even the lives of those beneath her, especially that get on her bad side. In the first episode, she sends men who are insubordinate off to die.
Sounds reasonable.
It's a very good show. It shows a little bit of military strategy here and there. And it shows like military might, and it has a political aspect to it. I personally love stuff like that. So I instantly fell in love with the show. So, what are your thoughts, ma'am?
What was the name of it called again?
The Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Yep.
And that title's fitting considering she sent a whole bunch of dudes to die.
Yep, and she's killed a lot of people too.
I like the sound of it. I'm not sure if I want to get to other things first, but I'll probably get around to watching it soon. All 13 episodes, no lisp.
I don't remember ever hearing a lisp. I think it might mean I'm not good with the English language, apparently. It might be a reference to something else. I guess it's because he's not used to speaking as a girl, so he's got to get used to being a girl, I guess that's what it's talking about.
Maybe.
So, if I had to take a guess, that's what it's probably trying to get at.
I think out of all of these, most I would want to watch is Cowboy Bebop.
Yes.
I like the mixture of, just space and western. I just like westerns in general. That's probably because I'm from good old Yeehaw land.
Yeehaw. Well, if you like that, I have one more for you. I'll throw in as a tidbit, because this is number 4 on my top 5 list. You ever heard of Trigun?
Trigun. It sounds familiar. Is it?
It's kind of it's a western. It's a space western.
It's a space western.
Yes, it came out at around the same time that Cowboy Bebop was coming out.
Is it inspired by it, or is it?
No, it just happened to come out around the same time. It has nothing to inspire or anything. Sure, they both take place on Mars, but it just happens to be like that.
All right. Continue then.
Alright, Trigun revolves around a man known as Vash the Stampede and two Bernadette Insurance Society employees, Meryl Streif and Millie Thompson. These two follow him around in order to minimize the damage inevitably caused by his appearance. Most of the damage attributed to Vash is actually caused by bounty hunters in pursuit of his $60 billion double dollar bounty, which is the currency, on Vash's head for the destruction of the city July. However, he cannot remember the incident due to retrograde amnesia, being able to recall only fragments of the destroyed city and memories of his childhood. Throughout his travels, Vash tries to save lives using non-lethal force. He is occasionally joined by a priest named Nicholas D. Wolfwood, who, like Vash, is a superb gunfighter with a mysterious past. He carries around a giant fucking cross that's a giant rifle. It's amazing. So as the series progresses, you find out about more of Vash's past and how the human civilization on the planet Gunsmoke was, made, and it's revealed. So Vash's weapon of choice.
Voice cut out a whole bunch during that entire sentence.
Oh,
the other word.
What, the last bit of it?
Yeah.
And basically, long story short, the history of the planet is revealed as well as his backstory. That's pretty much.
All right.
So,
And from the beginning, like when watching the show, you don't know anything about his backstory, and you find out as he does? Or...
Yeah, you find out basically as he does. Because he'll remember some of his memories and he'll go over that and stuff like that. You really don't need to know anything going into it.
Alright, that's good.
And they had a movie released. When did the anime stop? So it's so good that the anime ended in 1998, and they got a movie in 2010.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Cowboy Bebop got a movie in 2008 as well. I forgot to mention that earlier. But the show is so good and it's well acclaimed, and many people attribute it to one of the diamonds of the 90s. So that's what I got for you, ma'am.
Yeah, those two will probably be on top of my list then, because I like it whenever there's it's just the genres you don't expect them to mix. So I like them when people do attempt to mix them, and if it's executed right, obviously, because sometimes people try to mix them, it just doesn't turn out really proper, really good. But I'll go ahead and try those two out probably first.
That's what I like to hear. So, ma'am, as the closing end of the podcast, it is your turn to convince me.
Oh, dear. Like I said, this is probably going to be easy or go really well, because I've only seen parts 1 and 2, and I'll be quite honest, I'm reluctant to get into part 3. Part 1 is a tad slow. It's about Jonathan Joestar, and you know, it's obvious Dio who's the antagonist.
Yes, and Robert E.O. Speedwagon.
He's too cool to avoid the copyright, because every time that there's a musical reference in this show, they have to change it. Like, I'm pretty sure somewhere later, like down the line, there's a stand that's named Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, whose name had to be changed to Filthy Acts Done at a Reasonable Price.
Oh, that's amazing. I know Jesus is a stand, or Jesus had a stand, one of those.
I think it was Jesus Had a Stand. I haven't gotten that far yet. Like I said, I've only watched parts 1 and 2. I've seen episode 1 of part 3, and I'm kind of procrastinating on it because I'm probably gonna get slapped for this. I don't like Jotaro much. A lot of people really like him. I just don't. I like my share of edgy characters, but there's just something about him I don't like. However, Jonathan Joestar, he's more of like the wholesome gentleman character. There's Joseph Joestar, who's just a lovable goofball. I want to get to part 4 though. I don't know much about Josuke, but I really like his design, and a lot of people really like him, and they say that he's the best JoJo, so I want to see for myself. There's also the fact that me and my friend in Eyes of Heaven often play Josuke and Okuyasu, who have, in my opinion, the best dual heat combo, so...
Okay.
I also think part 2, again, my friend doesn't like that I like this character, but has one of my favorite villains, who is Cars. He's one of my favorite JoJo villains.
I know who you're talking about.
As one of my friends referred to him, the Aztec stripper god, which is fitting. But I don't know. I think it's just the fact that at the end, because you don't get to see much of the Pillarmen, you just know that their theme is amazing. Awaken. You've heard Awaken, right?
Yep, beamed away. Yep, I've heard it.
I'll be real with you. I listened to that unironically, but I digress. I don't want to spoil too much, but you don't get to learn much about Cars in the show until the end, and towards the end, like, you don't really get to see what kind of character he is. It focuses more on the other Pillarmen, if anything, like AC/DC and Wamu. Wamu's real name is Wham. Wham, but they had to change it because, again, copyright reasons. And AC/DC is still AC/DC, it's just spelt really weird.
Lordy Jesus.
Don't know, Jesus, the Pillarmen are, like, the best villains.
Yeah, but just the names, like, they couldn't think of anything else, like, you know, alright, we'll get copy strict, but these names, though.
Uh, Wamu's probably the best of the Pillarmen. Like most people tend to like him because he's the most respectable and honorable of them. He's like one of those honorable warrior types who, even with his enemies, he's still, respectable. He still respects them as warriors. Cars, he, I don't know how to say it without spoiling it. You kind of learn that he doesn't feel the same way as Wamu does towards the end. I don't want to spoil what he does. I'm not sure if you know what he does. You said that you've heard, seen a few spoilers about it.
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces here and there, and a bunch of my friends are big JoJo fans.
Yeah, basically, Cars is just kind of scummy, and he doesn't really play fair. He's very arrogant and condescending too. I don't know. I still like him though, which is weird because at first I hated him. I hated his guts and I wanted him to just die. But then over time I started liking him more when I rewatched it. Also, phone, stop. Okay. Then there's Joseph Joestar, who I'm pretty sure you've seen Tequila Joseph, correct?
Yes.
That's a good example of his character throughout the show. And it's actually a fighting technique of his where he'll act like a goofball in front of his enemies, while in reality he's kind of formulating a plan while he's making his enemies, doubt his fighting skills. Basically makes them underestimate him, and then he pulls a fast one on them.
Alrighty then.
Like I said, I'm not going to be good at convincing you because I've only seen parts 1 and 2. And even in my opinion, part 1 was kind of slow. I like Jonathan and I like Dio, but at the same time, while I was watching it, I was just kind of thinking to myself, there is so much dialogue.
Well, I mean,
between the fights.
It's going to be like Fate in the beginning. I mean, it just comes with the good anime. Dialogue is just part of it.
I noticed that in Soul Eater a lot too while I was watching it, that they would narrate during the fights a lot and they'd explain what the characters are doing. And it was just kind of, I'm one of those people who I really enjoy when they show what the characters are doing instead of telling. Like, basically lay down the groundwork so that they don't have to explain it later. But I can kind of understand why they can't do that in anime, because animation would probably be hard without explaining it.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense, because I know that there's some scenes where they can't actually show all of the actions at once.
Yeah, that makes... Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was about to say, it makes sense. It's just, it's one of those things I gotta watch to fully get there,
So that's one of the things I didn't like much about part 1, especially during one of the final fights, is there was a lot of talking and narrating, and I was kind of over it. But part 2 is the part that I probably enjoyed most. I still gotta get into part 3. I don't like Jotaro that much, but I mean, I don't want to skip any parts though, so I'll probably get into it. Hopefully tomorrow. I'll try watching some of it.
I was going to say, well, you're going to have to let me know, because you kind of actually did convince me, oddly enough.
Yeah, Jonathan, I like him as a JoJo. He's, like I said, he's the gentleman character. Everyone describes him as wholesome, so he is wholesome. Joseph is probably my favorite so far because he's a goofball. And I also like the fact that he isn't... you know how in anime, whenever there's the final fight, they all kind of have the same energy. It's really intense, things like that.
Yeah.
And there's always some sort of stare down. It's not really like that with part 2. The fight still kind of had me laughing a little bit, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if it was supposed to, I'll be quite honest, but I still kind of laughed. There's also Stroheim, who is a Nazi. He's still a good guy. He's one of the protagonists, so that's enjoyable.
A good Nazi.
A good Nazi.
Alrighty then.
He's also one of the, he's not even intentionally funny. He's somewhat funny. He's, he is funny. I'm not gonna lie. But there's also, if you're watching dub or sub, if you're watching dub, I had to switch it to sub just for one iconic part where the Japanese voice actor says Speedwagon, but he kind of So it's a Japanese man speaking English, trying to attempt a German accent while sounding French. That's basically how it turned out. If that makes any sense, if you can kind of.
It does. So a good example of what you got going on. What is it? The Goblin Slayer movie trailer came out recently. And the guy's trying to be like this deep like monologue. So you know like the old action trailers in America are like this summer, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, they had that, but in broken English, trying to hype up the movie. It was hilarious, but they did a decent job at it. So,
I mean, it's always entertaining to hear, like especially in anime when there's a character who speaks English. Joseph Joestar again is one of those. I'm pretty sure you've seen clips from part 3 of him going, "Oh my god!
Oh my god!"
Or "Holy shit!"
Yes.
Or things like that. I think Joseph's what's gonna get me through part 3. I'll be quite honest.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's great.
It's sad. His voice actor is dead. Makes me sad to think about.
Well, on that depressing note, I guess this is where we're going to finish it, guys. So, go check out Semes' channel. Link will be in the description below. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that hoop-de-la jazz he got going on. Leave some comments down below. Give some ideas and some Joe's Corners. I'm always willing to sit down and talk with people I know and other content creators. If there's one you want me to see you talk to, let me know. I'm always down for more. So, ma'am, do you have any final words for the audience?
I just had my arm attacked by a cat, and that's actually kind of painful. But, not really. Just kind of sorry, because I'm not used to being in these, so I'm sorry if I come off as nervous, I guess.
You're fine, you're fine. My community's warm and welcoming. The little bit, the comment, cough, cough, hint, hint, do what you need to do. So, yeah.
Also, apologize for not knowing much. I kind of know the basic shows, and even then, I kind of stopped watching anime only shortly after I got into it, which makes me sad.
Well, that's okay. That's why Joe Schmmo is here recommending stuff to people. So, on that note, guys, we will see you all next time.